Hi, I'm Richard Karn, and you may have seen me on TV talking about the world's #1 expandable garden hose. Well, the brand new Pocket Hose Copperhead with Pocket Pivot is here, and it's a total game changer. Old-fashioned hoses get kinks and creases at the spigot, but the Copperhead's Pocket Pivot swivels 360 degrees for full water flow and freedom to water with ease all around your home. When you're all done, this rust-proof anti-burst hose shrinks back down to pocket size for effortless handling and tidy storage. Plus, your super light and ultra-durable Pocket Hose Copperhead is backed with a 10-year warranty. What could be better than that? I'll tell you what, an exciting radio-exclusive offer just for you. For a limited time, you can get a free Pocket Pivot and their 10-pattern sprayer with the purchase of any size Copperhead hose. Just text WATER to 64,000. That's WATER to 64,000 for your 2 free gifts with purchase. WATER to 64,000.
By texting 64,000, you agree to receive recurring automated marketing messages from Pocket Hose. Message and data rates may apply. No purchase required. Terms apply. Available at pockethose.com/terms.
Having a life scholarship and being able to afford to go to college made me feel inspired to go.
When I got a life scholarship, it was such a relief.
I knew that I wanted to have an impact. Having a life scholarship through the SC Education Lottery was huge. It gave me the opportunity to make that impact right here at home.
The South Carolina Education Lottery. A better you, a better us, a better South Carolina. Visit sceducationlottery.com/betteryou.
Let's talk about love and marriage, the way that God intended. A life experience, here we share it. The No Fruit Podcast. Tune in from any platform. No Fruit Podcast. Will help your spirit transform.
What's going on? What's going on, y'all? How are y'all feeling today?
Hello, everybody. How are you all doing out there?
So, today is a very, very, very special occasion. And we're going to play around. You're going to probably hear some really nice sounds today. We're just, maybe not. We'll see. But ultimately, we thank you very much.
Thank you.
For riding along with us. This has been such a interesting journey from when we started this show to where we are now.
Mm-hmm.
And we're excited because this is our 200th episode.
200.
I was about to say anniversary. like, oh gosh.
You dating us. You was just talking about being a vampire not too long ago.
Yeah, I was. But the reality is that we have persevered through a lot to get to this point. And something that is very interesting, this is where I truly believe where God is really starting to show who he really is in our lives. But a part of it comes down to us and our commitment. For those of you who have been listening, let's say over the last 6 to 8 months, we have been way more committed and consistent with this show than we have been the full 6 years we had prior to this year.
Mm-hmm.
Also, we have made a better commitment to God. It's funny how they kind of coincided with one another.
Right.
Along with being in a better place or space in our us as individuals and us in our marriage. So it's interesting how everything kind of is coming together relatively at one time.
All at once, as Whitney Houston says.
Especially when you make a decision to really say, God, you are first.
Mm-hmm.
God, you are the head of this podcast. You're the head of anything that we're doing, and just like we're being committed to this show, we're going to be committed to you. And I think that's something that has really changed our trajectory.
Right.
And in that, thanks to all of you that's out there that's been listening, the last the last 2 months prior to this episode right here, our show numbers have drastically changed. I mean,
for the better.
yes. I mean, like, y'all are killing it out there. Now there are some things that, again, when we say we're, committed and being more consistent with the show, yes, we have changed some of how we are conducting the show. Because, I mean, so if you notice that even with this episode, like, we went kind of old school.
Right.
Right? We did the intro first and whatever, but we didn't come in with the hook and trying to pull y'all in. No, because we wanted to get right to it. We, y'all need the hook for this one. But the reality is that we see what God can do as long as we put him first and we implement him in everything and not leave him out.
Right.
You know?
I mean, I think that's the point that you're saying is like, things will shift, things will change for the better when you put the one, who is the one and only first.
Right.
That's the place that he belongs. And, as the Bible says, all things will be added unto you. You know what I mean? So, we're just so grateful at this moment, not only because it is our 200th show, but also because of, as Maurice said, the numbers are increasing, doubling and tripling day after day. And then again, where we are in our relationship, where we are in our finances, where we are with our family, it's all just coming together and just manifesting, all of the things that we've been praying for, struggling about for the past, not only 6 years during this podcast, but the past 20-something years of life. You know what I mean? Life has been lifing for us, but God is, showing favor upon us right now, and we are just so grateful. So,
right.
We're grateful to God. We're grateful to you all that are listening. I'm grateful to my husband for just him pushing those buttons over there and making sure this show is produced and pulled together well. So I'm just happy right now, just for the next 200 shows, so, and then after that. So we're just happy, and I'm just happy right now. I don't know if you guys are happy out there, but I'm certainly happy that we've made it this far. As they used to say, coming into church on Sunday morning, we've come this far by faith, leaning on the Lord. So I'm so glad that we're here in this place and in this space, and that we have this opportunity to share what God has given to us, that has helped us through the years. And we're so grateful that what we're sharing is hopefully helping other people. And that's all we're here for, is to share our story, and hoping that these little seeds, these little nuggets of our truth will help somebody else along the way.
And something, Kafi, as I'm listening to you, as we're talking about transformation, right? I think what happened is, and I'm just going to share a little secret with everyone out there, that once you change your mindset and or your position on what you're trying to achieve in life. So the example would be, we're doing a podcast. Yes, Kafi and I want to share some information, share some whatever, but at one particular time, we was just thinking about money. You're doing things because of money, or you're doing things, always not for the right reason. But as soon as you start looking beyond yourself and wanting to help someone else, and you're doing it also what God has called you to do, and recognizing that that's what it is.
Right.
Calling it out for what it is, right? And living what it is. And so, you might be doing it. So for some of you out there, you might be able to get some money out of it. We're getting a couple little pennies here and there, literally. It's not even a whole lot, right? And that's just some little bit of ad revenue that's built into the system that we get with the podcast. But it's nothing, in all honesty, it's just sitting there chilling.
They're about to get rid of pennies, so
I know,
these
right?
couple of pennies that we
so
that you're speaking of, so
we're not gonna be able to make anything at that time.
No.
So the reality is that we've been doing it out of labor of love, but at the same time, we like, hey, can we grow and be like other people, whatever it is? But guess what? We're not everybody else, and our show is not like anyone else's. We're not trying to duplicate anybody else. We're just being especially for those of you who know who we are, we're just Kafi and Maurice. And that's the way we've been operating. So I hope that as y'all are listening to what we're talking about, what we're saying, is just be you. Be honest. Be consistent in how you show up for the next person. But ultimately be honest and committed to who you are. And don't forget where God's place is and all that, and being consistent and honest with him. So I just want to make sure that we say thank y'all up front before we got to any other topic to this show. I just want to make sure that y'all know it's clear that this 200th episode is not possible without God.
Right.
It's not based off of our, what's the term, volition? I don't even know what that word means. I heard people use it all the time. I might have to look that up, that little SAT word real quick. But this episode is a direct reflection of what God has been in our lives. And this season exemplifies it with consistency and just how, like I said, the last couple it's funny because the last couple months we've been seeing our numbers grow. And so like 1 month there was one number, the next month it doubled, and right now the numbers are tripled. It's funny, like every month has grown.
Wow.
And that is no lie. Like that is exactly what's been happening. Right. And it's funny because when Kafi and I started looking and paying attention to some of these numbers, we're like, wait a second, we see where there are some gaps, where some of y'all listened, some of y'all didn't listen, where y'all paid attention, y'all didn't pay attention. And then the following month, we're like, oh, wow, there's more listeners on this day. Oh, wow, there's more listeners. You get what I mean? And then now all of a sudden, this last month, we're like, somebody listened almost every day. Like, there was only like one day when nobody listened to the show. And on top of that, when we look at the numbers and look at the average, like it was, like I said, triple than the month prior.
Right.
Literally triple. So we thank y'all for riding with us. But God, ultimately, we thank you, because none of this would have been done without you, God, in all honesty. So, I just, want to make sure y'all understand like who we really are at our core. And we're not going to shy away from who we are and whose we are. In all honesty, again, transparency for me. I don't know where I'm in this transparency space right now, but
you're going to be see-through soon.
But, there was a time where you're like, hey, well, this person don't say this and this person don't say that. And you don't talk about who God really is in your life. And I was one of those individuals. And I decided that I can't do that anymore.
Well, I think on this podcast, we've been God-focused off and on, if those who look, back and listen back to previous seasons, we've talked about what happens in the church building, what happens, and gave advice to church leaders. So we certainly have, gotten into deep biblical studies. We've gotten into, hey, pastors, you need to do this, and church ministers and leaders, can do this. And we just giving advice and things like that. And back in the day, I'm talking, seasons and seasons ago.
Right.
And that was fun, and that was great for that purpose and that time in our lives. And we shared that. And now, we're sharing something more. But like Maurice was saying, what was our focus and our purpose at that particular time? We were, diving so deep and trying to be so deep and mature about things that it was more of a task and a chore, I think, at times than the way things happen now. And I think that's why perhaps, I don't know the why because it's all according to God's plan, but, on why things are expounding now. Not saying that our prayers weren't the same back then for God to bless the podcast and God to use us, but it's a little bit different now. I think the difference is what we're doing outside of the podcast. I think we're, more connected from the conversations that we have before the podcast, after the podcast, and even during the podcast, how that's growing our relationship, how, some of the topics that we're talking about have stretched us and grown us in our relationship, which makes us better. And I think that overall has been a blessing to us. We have not only, as a couple prayed together, but we fasted together. Maurice has talked about, many of his fast of Pepsi and things like that. But, God has truly been so much to us. And I think, he's he's rewarding us here in this space. He's blessed us and rewarded us in other places and other spaces. But I think, and I hope and I pray that this is just the beginning of how God is going to use us, and I think that's the part, that's kind of shifted and changed. We were kind of saying, God, we want to do this for you. But now we're kind of like, God, how do you want to use us? You know what I mean? Like, this is all yours. This is your platform. This is, we're your voice. We're your vessels, and not so much trying to force the world and force the message to the world, but more so like, God, what does the world need to hear, and use us in that way. So I think that's part of the difference for me, at least, that I hear and that I feel in my spirit, in my shanana. So, but as Maurice is saying, I am just so grateful for this, was it bicentennial that we're having?
Oh, gosh. Yeah, I guess.
Our 200th show, like that just means so much. As statistics say, that a lot of people don't get past, what is it, the 10th show?
It's normally for those individuals who are doing podcasting, sometimes they don't get past the third, maybe the fifth, right? And ultimately you have shattered the norm by getting to episode 10.
Wow.
And so if you really consider that, right? So think about it just from our human space. Why can't you get to episode 10? I.e., God, why can't I just say thank you 10 times? Right? Because we get so consumed with fear, anxiety, depression, all those negative things, and not being able to express ourselves, whether it's behind getting in front of the camera or behind the microphone. What do we have to offer? We're nobodies, we're nothing, or whatever it is, along with the level of consistency that we need. So you would think that right now we are at season 7.
And that's a holy number. And I think that's another reason why things are where they are, because 7 is a great number.
Right. So in addition to that, that you would think if we were consistent, we would have hit 200 by now,
Mm-hmm.
right? You would think that things would have been okay by now. You would think. But the reality is we had our own challenges individually and personally,
Yes.
right? I mean, because y'all don't know, there was plenty of times where I was ready to drop this whole podcast more than once.
Mm-hmm.
So to get to 200, that's nothing but God.
It's a miracle.
Okay, maybe. Maybe, but it was not a simple 7 years.
Not at all.
It was, again, I'll give you case in point. We looked at the podcast, and we looked at years past. Luckily, we have a platform that we host this on, and we get to see what has changed over the years. When we took 1 month, and we looked at it this year versus last year versus the year before, right? And so this year, we didn't miss a day. I'm just using this as an example, y'all. This year, we didn't miss a day. Last year, and we're talking about in a 30-day period, 1 month, right? The last year, I think we had 11 shows in that month. But the year before that, we had 2.
Mm-hmm.
Something along those lines. But what I'm getting at, if you're paying attention of what's the level of consistency. So we go from 2 to 11 to what was it? Because we did more than just the 8. It was something crazy, right? And so the reality is that we are way more consistent than we would have than where we were in the past. And it looks like we look like what God has given to us, right? Responsibility, consistency, transforming people's lives, and understanding that, hey, talking to y'all is and giving y'all the information that God has given to us to share with y'all. We're way more consistent with that. And we are, all right, God, we committed to you. We're going to live this thing out, and we're trusting you, right? And things have changed. And for the place that where we're going to be in a couple months, where we're looking to do, we might see some of y'all in a podcast summit somewhere or whatever it is. And those of you that are listening, we would love to meet you, right? But even with something like that, we didn't consider in the past either. We talked about it. We didn't commit to it, and that will be something y'all hear on the show about doing that and what the experience might be, that type of stuff. But the attention to detail, formatting, and whatever else has changed.
Several times.
Yes. And I think the way we're doing the show right now, it works better. It works a little bit better. I think we have a little more oomph to the process, where before we didn't. Not as much.
Right.
Also we had some other little secrets, and, if you want to go and find some more out, you can always go to my podcast course that's coming out very shortly. Selfless plug. But, because again, with that course, which is something that we've learned as well, is the power of our voice. How to basically transform who we are in this space to another place or space. And so, again, that's on the podcast course. I can't give up but so much. But I just want y'all to know that, and I know I'm talking a whole lot, but that's because God has given me so much. And, you're able to share it with us. You're able to see the maturation from season 1 until now. You get to see the consistency. You get to hear the effort that we're putting into this. You get to hear even just the content change. So I mean, there's some times where Kafa's like, Maurice, can we have fun on the show? Like, we always talking about something serious, man. Like,
And then there's shows that just started off with us laughing and we could not utter words because we're just, so, I don't know, giggly that particular episode. But, I think a lot of what you're sharing, Maurice, in reference to consistency, we have to be consistent with God. Mm-hmm. And he will, because he's always consistent with us. Mm-hmm. So I think, that's really profound. And I'm just in awe of how blessed we are from just showing consistency. Mm-hmm. And that's not only here on this podcast, but even within our marriage, even within us eating right, us praying. What? Why you laugh about eating right?
Because I'm sorry, I just had some flashbacks.
Oh, okay.
Like Pepsi.
Yes. Y'all pray for him. Those who know the words of prayer. Please. Please, please. He was doing well, but
I have my moments.
Yeah. So, anywho, consistency, and especially in our marriage and with our family, I can say that being consistent shows up in many, many ways. But we thank you so much for all of your support and for listening. And as we said, we have so much more coming this way to you all. As Maurice has said, 200 episodes is something major because so many people who are doing podcasting in our podcasting world, have started out and are not consistent, don't last 7 seasons. But as Maurice, shared a little bit, he kind of, mentioned it quickly. But he's got some major things that are out there already, and then he's working on some other things that will be coming your way pretty soon. So for those who have Amazon or know of it, this little thing called Amazon, have you heard of it, Maurice?
Maybe, okay.
Well, he's got some books out there on Amazon that lend to podcasting, and he's got some things out there that help you just get through the next step in life. This book that's called Well, Why Not? So I think those are, 2 great resources for wherever you are in life, even when you're trying to be more consistent. Well, Why Not workbook and Well, Why Not book is there and can be a great help to you, helping you to understand where you are and why you're moving things forward. So please go and check out Amazon and get a copy of it today.
Thank y'all for your support in advance.
Yes. So all of that information about Maurice, his website, as he's mentioned, and those Amazon treasures will be in the notes. So feel free to click and purchase and, join the journey along with us.
Yeah, support the channel.
Yes, please do.
As they say. So one last thing that I challenge each of you, because Kafa's talking about finding your why with the Well, Why Not workbook. That's part of it, But there's also another part of that journey of the why, what, where, how stuff. Mm-hmm. And there's a key part that Kafa and I have really been talking about lately, and that's the who. Who are you doing this for? What is the focus with that individual and or entity and or spirit? So once you find your why, understand who the who is, and get a deeper understanding with that, a deeper connection with that, and I can almost guarantee that your life will change. And you will see your 200th episode coming your way. So, I thank y'all very much for listening today. And we hope that y'all have a very, very, very exciting day. And come back and listen to us very soon. Talk to y'all later.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the No Fruit Podcast, where we bring you fruitful conversations, ripened wisdom, and love that's deeply rooted. We hope today's discussion left you feeling uplifted, encouraged, and ready to take on life's journey with purpose. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave us a review, and share it with someone who could use a little inspiration in their day. You can catch up on past episodes, send us your thoughts, or learn more about us on social media. Until next time, stay rooted in love, and remember, every seed you plant today shapes the fruit of tomorrow. Take care, and we'll see you next time.
Having a life scholarship and being able to afford to go to college made me feel inspired to go.
When I got a life scholarship, it was such a relief.
I knew that I wanted to have an impact. Having a life scholarship through the SC Education Lottery was huge. It gave me the opportunity to make that impact right here at home.
The South Carolina Education Lottery. A better you, a better us, a better South Carolina. Visit sceducationlottery.com/betteryou.
Ready to make a real impact every day? Join the Active Day Home Care team and help clients maintain their independence in the comfort of their own homes. Make a difference in someone's life as you provide essential daily assistance and protect their health and happiness. Earn up to $20 an hour and enjoy additional perks like optional daily pay, 401k, paid time off, ongoing educational training, and more. Join a team that values care, compassion, and your professional growth. Visit activeday.com to apply.